That woman is back in the news. Former White House intern Monica Lewinsky, notorious for her affair with President Bill Clinton, has written a lengthy article for Vanity Fair. Among other things, she claims she was vilified by the media, especially by women journalists. And she may have a point. In the years following the 1998 White House sex scandal, Monica Lewinsky has been in and out of the spotlight.
I was a 22-year-old foolish kid.
Penning a book and participating in an HBO documentary. No question or topic too distasteful or off limits.
How does it feel to be America's premier blowjob queen?
In her 15-page article in this month's Vanity Fair, Monica Lewinsky addresses it all, writing that every day my name appears in an op-ed column or a press clip or two.
A familiar name is back in the headlines.
When old documents surfaced showing Hillary Clinton once referred to her as a narcissistic Looney Tune, Lewinsky wrote, "They've reappeared, the paparazzi, like swallows, pacing and circling and pacing some more." Lewinsky says her global humiliation was driven by the internet, and the pile-on continues.
She is simply too famous, it seems, to have a normal life.
But Lewinsky takes particular exception to how she was vilified by other women, notably New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd, or as Lewinsky writes, Maureen Dowdy. Today, I'd meet her for a drink. In a column this week, Dowd says she's game for the drink, but not before one more pile-on, calling Lewinsky's article like a golden oldie tour of a band you didn't want to hear in the first place. So did Monica Lewinsky get a raw deal from the press? Joining me to hash it out are John Keller of WBZ, Neiman Journalism Fellow Susie Banakarim, Marjorie Egan of the Boston Herald and WGBH News, and Dan Kennedy of Northeastern University. Well, I completely disagree with Maureen Dowd. I mean, Maureen Dowd won a Pulitzer Prize taking down Monica Lewinsky. I thought the article was well written. It was informative. There was a good story arc. She brought in new material I had never heard or seen before, including that luncheon in New York City where those 9 women sat around, Kate Roife and other people, prominent journalists, dissing her, saying things like it was the worst thing about it was that she wasn't attractive enough for the president. She wasn't. At least if our presidents are going to have an affair, it should be somebody like Marilyn Monroe, and on and stuff like that. So it was all incorporated in that. Yeah, did she bring some of it on herself? She did, but I thought the article was. I don't know how good our editors were, Marjorie, but it was well done.
I'm with you. The double standard is just unbelievable. And Bill Clinton is one of the most popular politicians in America. Now, obviously, he was the president when this happened. She didn't have much of a resume, so you can't expect the whole equal thing. But the women turning on her, the feminist, the sisterhood in America disgraced themselves back there because while they were talking about a workplace environment where you had that power differential, they were giving Bill Clinton a pass, so they lost enormous credibility. And I think Katie Roife and Maureen Dowd, whom I generally like, should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, this is a cautionary tale for anybody's kid or anybody's sister or anybody's cousin. And it's true, Monica Lewinsky probably would have been better off just disappearing and doing no HBO specials and no nothing, changing her name and moving to Ohio or Wisconsin or something. But I have enormous sympathy for her, and the double standard is just, I want to hit some of these women over the head.
So I have enormous sympathy for her, too. And I think, it's so funny because I read that thing with Hillary Clinton calling her a narcissistic loony, and I thought, it sort of feels quaint what she did compared to what all these, sort of sex scandal women do now, right? Like Spitzer's call girl became a sex columnist. The
Tiger Woods' girlfriend.
Anthony Weiner's, Twitter friend or whatever she was, did a porn film, So, I mean, I sort of feel like Monica Lewinsky actually did comport herself with a certain amount of dignity. And I thought the article was, again, also surprisingly well written and not ghost written, apparently. So I sort of thought, good for her that she's trying to make a life for herself. Why should she have to, change her name and scurry into the darkness and hope that nobody recognizes her? She's pretty recognizable anyway. And I do think it's interesting. I don't really see it even just as a feminist problem because there was just so much misogyny around it. It was equally nasty to Hillary as it was to her. It just was it was just focused on the women as opposed to the man at the center of the incident.
Except everybody was given space to rehabilitate, including Hillary Clinton, but not
true.
Monica.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point. And, you know, I didn't find the article that interesting. It was very well written. And I do assume that she wrote it with some editing help, as we all get.
Yeah.
We all get editing help, so that's not a big deal. There were a couple of things I learned in there that I thought were significant. And maybe this isn't new information. I didn't read her book years ago. But when she said that when she was taken into custody by federal agents and threatened with 27 years in prison if she didn't cooperate with their
and wear a
investigation
wire
and wear a wire.
It was
that
terrifying.
struck me as part and parcel of the kind of prosecutorial and investigative abuse we've seen over and over and over. And I don't think that part of the article ought to just slide. That's outrageous. The other thing that really struck me about this is her talking about the long period she went through where she was borderline suicidal. And I completely believe that. And you read that and you say, you know, we tend to forget that these are real people that we're talking about in these situations.
Well, that's a great point. There's a difference between real people and media people in the sense of people whose lives, for whatever reason, become media fodder. And the chewing and swallowing of them overwhelms whatever the reality of their humanity might be. That appears to be what has happened to Monica Lewinsky, in no small part, and I don't mean to sound uncharitable because I do feel sympathy for what she's gone through and is still going through, but in no small part aided and abetted by her own choices, her own apparent craving for the public eye, even as she detests it. I mean, she chose to do a reality TV series. She chose to cooperate with that documentary. That's not exactly turning down the Klieg lights on your own life and trying to live it. I think Maureen Dowd, however crassly and rudely, has a point, that she does kind of resemble a has-been rock group that can't give up the feedback and the love of the crowd that wants to hear them play the old hits over and over again. However, having said all that, one point in her article jumped out at me. Her description of herself as the first victim of international internet shaming, I believe was the way she put it. That's a phenomenon that bears further discussion and scrutiny, and it's certainly chewed up her and spit her out.